Our family has been granted the great honor of seeing my father, Frank Douglas Martin, inducted into the state of Kansas Governor's Aviators Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is a gallery at the Kansas Aviation Museum located in the beautifully restored Art Deco terminal of Wichita's first airport. Dad's picture and bio will be displayed next to those of Walter and Olive Ann Beach, Amelia Earhart, Clyde Cessna, Bill Lear, and many other civilian and military aviation luminaries who contributed in major ways to Kansas aviation. It has been a 2-year application process. In this brief video, I would like to share the 750-word nomination summary. Frank Martin's contributions to world and Kansas aviation history are broad and multifaceted, presenting a pivotal role in building the Cessna Aircraft Company, preceded by pioneering flights over the North Atlantic in B-17 bombers and in the treacherous Himalayan hump operation. The applicant then was both a World War II air warrior and a major figure in the development of Kansas aviation. Chronologically, here are his qualifying achievements. He was one of history's first independent sales agents for the Luscombe Company in 1939. This is significant as the beginning of history's first airplane dealership sales system, the precursor of the global sales network he would build for the Cessna Aircraft Company. He was an instructor in the Negro Civil Pilot Training Program, a program best known to history with the Tuskegee Airmen. He joined the U.S. Army Air Corps Air Transport Command in 1941, immediately after Pearl Harbor. By autumn 1941, he was delivering B-17 bombers to Europe from a delivery facility in Kansas and was made an instructor in history's first all-weather winter North Atlantic air transport operation, training crews headed to terribly hazardous service over Europe in the 8th Air Force. With his all-weather global experience, he was sent to the China-Burma-India Theater's hump operation and flew 66 missions from India to China. He delivered payloads of over 5,000 gallons of gasoline over the highest terrain on Earth in C-87s, C-109s, and B-24s. The hump operation was the highest loss, highest risk airlift operation of World War II. These harrowing flights are detailed in my book, Among Stars Above the Storm. He is listed in the Hump Pilots Association Roll of Honor and listed in display archives at the U.S. Air Force Air War College Museum and other museums. He was awarded the Air Medal and the Distinguished Flying Cross with Oak Leaf Cluster. Later, he was a B-29 commander, flying frequently to and from Wichita and other bases in Kansas. In 1946, he joined the Cessna Aircraft Company as regional sales manager, quickly rising through the ranks to become company sales manager in September 1953. By 1954, Cessna was selling more airplanes than any general aviation company, and by 1958 had 50% of all business aircraft sales in the world. In 1963, he was made Vice President of Marketing for Cessna in charge of all non-military aircraft sales worldwide. He traveled to 35 countries to establish the world's largest aviation sales network, in effect, taking Cessna to the world. In November 1966, Flight magazine reported, Cessna Aircraft sells more general aviation aircraft than any other aircraft firm in the world, and Frank Martin is in charge of those sales. Under his supervision are 870 retail outlets in more than 100 countries, and the marketing division, which employs more than 300 personnel. Included on his staff were aviation luminaries such as Max Bleck, featured in the Kansas Aviators Hall of Fame, who became president of Beechcraft and later Raytheon Corporation, and Richard Robinson, who became CEO of Rockwell International and builder of the B-1 bomber. Martin implemented the company's famous $5 first flight learn to fly program that led the industry in a global pilot creating strategy. One result? In 1966, production of the Model 150 quadrupled in 1 year and became the second most successful airplane in history in number of units sold. The strategy was designed to get new pilots to buy up to larger, more expensive airplanes. As a result, the Model 172 Skyhawk became the most successful aircraft in history. In October 1970, Business and Commercial Aviation called Martin the marketing martinet of general aviation and the man who made Cessna number one, reporting that under Martin, Cessna became number one in both units sold and dollar volume and has held both first-place spots ever since. Martin was one of the 20 appointed to the President's Airports and Airways Development Task Force, the body that created the National Airports and Airways Trust Fund that built America's modern air transportation infrastructure. In 1970, Martin became president of the Aerostar Mooney Aircraft Company. Within a year, he was made CEO of Mooney's parent company, Butler Aviation International. In that position, he sold the entire Mooney Aircraft Company, then retired in 1973. During Martin's tenure with Cessna, the company grew to the Fortune 275 level and sold more airplanes than any company in the history of the world. He led that sales effort, which resulted in hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue to Kansas, thousands employed, and contributed enormously to the prestige of Kansas in world aviation history. In another book, Reminiscences Over Old Airplanes, I write how Dad passed this aviator tradition down to the next generation and then again to the next. Recently, my youngest daughter, Cherie, took her first flying lesson in a Cessna 172 Skyhawk. She seemed to have an intuitive grasp of basic stick and rudder principles. We are grateful to the Kansas Department of Transportation Aviation Division Committee and to the Kansas Aviation Museum for granting this honor to our family and to our father.